Okay, so welcome everyone to another Coach Robert upload about chess. This time we're going to be catching up with Phoenix about his first tournament experience. So I guess we can just take it away.
Well, my name is Phoenix Knowles. I recently played in the Louisiana State Championship and had a great time. I'm here to tell my experience.
Yeah, so I think the first thing that people might want to know about the first tournament experience is what did you have to do to prepare for your first tournament? Because many people have an interest in chess they've already cultivated. They just don't know if it's worth jumping to that next step of seriousness in chess.
Yeah, to prep, I got a coach. I think that's a good step anyone could take.
Especially the coach that you picked, right?
Especially the coach that I picked. And I think that really working on openings was a good way to start grounding my tactics and the way I could play in order to win games and challenge higher rated opponents. And I thought that was a good way to even get my foot in the door and really pose questions to people that have played the game for decades and decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes sense because when you play a tournament, especially a championship like the Louisiana State Championship, you could play not just players of any level if it's an open section, but even if you're playing a tournament that has rating brackets, like for example, let's say you're an unrated player because everyone who joins the tournament's unrated to start. You might join the lowest section just to be really conservative, but you may nevertheless play someone who's been playing chess for 10 years or more, someone who just has casually remained around the level where you see yourself as a beginner.
Yeah,
and that could still be a unique challenge, right? So how did you feel about maybe your opposition that you faced in the tournament?
I thought a lot of the players just really would not give up when faced with difficult questions. I have one funny game where at the end, we can put it up on the screen, but at the end the position was just drawn equal because he could check with his queen. It should be game 5.
It was game 5. Okay, I'll bring it up right here.
And
so just make sure before I put it on, is this the one?
This is the one.
Okay. All right. So switching. All right. So why don't you take us to the moment?
So at the very end,
okay.
I'm making questionable decisions here, but I think...
especially this one.
Especially this one, yeah. I would play it differently, but not to get into that too much. Here he makes a mistake, and then I put on pretty good pressure.
With H5?
I think with H5, yeah. I push, and then I'm trying to get my rooks down. And at the very, very end, right, I'm mounting pressure, and I make this
like
one...
a lethal amount of pressure at this point.
Yeah, pretty bad. I mean, this guy was shaking at the... And I think this is a good example as to what mental strength really can do for your game. When you're giving up the game, like my opponent did, if you play to the very end, he allows me to just go right here. He resigns on Queen G6. This is an equal position, right? He has a check that saves everything with Queen F5. And he didn't see it, and he was so frustrated with how he played before that he allowed me to... he just resigned. He just allowed me to win. And I think that's a great example as to what a lot of other people did in my other games is they would not quit. They would not resign. They wanted mate on the board.
Yeah.
And I think that...
You want to see it, win, weep, right?
I think that was the biggest thing.
I've even had some games like that, too. I remember one game that I played a couple of years ago. On the second to last move, my opponent creates a checkmate threat to me. I was playing black. And I just threw a check on the back rank. And they resigned. But the only legal move on the board leads to mate in 2 for them.
Yeah.
Because they block, and it's a discovered check to me. And so I lose. So I go from losing to bluffing to them resigning in a winning position. So definitely, especially if it's your first tournament, I think that not resigning is a very good policy to start out. Okay, so that was a really interesting game. Definitely a learning moment there. In fact, what would you say about tournaments as a tool for self-improvement if you're a casual player at home?
If you're a casual player that doesn't want to get a coach and doesn't want to devote that much into chess, and you're interested in playing long games, I think it's really worth going down and just trying to find whatever tournament that's in your city. Even if it's a drive, I'm pretty sure it's worth putting 3 to 4 hours into your game, because putting that much time into a chess game can really allow you to think so much about how you play, and it really gave me so much to think about.
Even if you're what you consider like a blitz player.
Even if you're a blitz player, I was a blitz player coming into like preparing for this tournament. I really cared about the blitz tournament, which, funny enough, when I got to the tournament, I really cared about the classical, and I did not care about the blitz whatsoever.
And I think you even said that practicing in classical has helped you to improve your blitz by default.
That as well, yeah.
Do you think it was difficult in any way to take care of like the small details that you need going to a tournament, like learning the tournament rules, learning how to write notation, getting your own set? Do you think these things were even a challenge? Or what?
I don't think that's a challenge whatsoever. Maybe there's a monetary challenge for some people for the clock and the set, because those are expensive. But
maybe like $50 altogether these days. Yeah.
$50, and then getting to the tournament itself can be expensive, right? With the drive and then getting the hotel and just getting all that arranged was a fair bit. But I think, and I had a funny bit with the clock. I tried to order a clock from Amazon. They returned it to me. They were like, "No, we're not going to sell it to you." Like they returned it to the seller, kind of stuff. They wouldn't give me a clock, which sucks. But I had no problems with that. And I think if you just don't have a set, I don't see you having that much of a problem. Everyone seemed to have a set and a clock, and I was able to get a clock, borrow a clock each time when I didn't have one.
I would encourage everyone to bring their own set just in case, especially if you're playing one of the lower sections, because a lot of the time the people who are most likely to not bring a set are the people who just don't have experience. And it's also just good to have one, so like when you go home you can like play moves on the board to like try to learn from your mistakes. And even if writing is a difficulty for you, there are rules in the U.S. Chess Federation about like when people are unable to write, they can definitely accommodate those kinds of things. So I think accessibility-wise, chess is one of the most accessible sports that you can play.
If I were to do something over, I would get a book for writing my my moves. I think that's really cool. A lot of the kids seem to have like a journal that they would write their moves in, and I thought that was cool.
I have one that I haven't used yet that says Chess Players Made Better on the cover. I've been saving it for a special occasion. Yeah, so what did you think about the social aspect of playing your first tournament?
I wasn't too all that thrilled with like what I got out of the social aspect. I mean, I met some cool people. There's a lot of old people, a lot of young people, and it seemed like the guys that were my age, it seems like a lot of the crowd from the university here in Baton Rouge came out to New Orleans, which is really cool. But besides those, there was maybe 2 or 3 other people that were my age. I'm 20, so like other 21, 25-year-olds, that range. Like the guy who won, Dex Webster, shout out to him. He's 21, from my understanding, and that's pretty cool to see someone that's my age go out and win those tournaments.
Yeah, that's true. He definitely performed very well with 7 points. So second place was 5 points. You know, clearly he took the lead on that one. And a lot of young people are the people who are putting like the most work into chess these days. So it's not exactly like if you want to win it all, you necessarily need to beat people with tons of experience. Some people are just coming in and like benefiting from like their youthful energy and their free time. So if that's you, you might have a good chance of like growing rapidly and being able to play in a tournament successfully, even if you're just learning now. It's not like it's only for people who've been playing their whole lives. I know I learned it at 15, and I regularly play tournaments. Well, before the pandemic, like, I was regularly playing tournaments. And I want to play regularly again, so I think everyone can definitely get into it. Do you think that like the COVID concerns in New Orleans were kind of an issue during this, or?
Well, they require a vaccine card, and as long as you're vaccinated, it seemed to be no issue to play in the tournament. They require masks, but I have no problem with vaccinations. I have no problem with masks, and as long as you're cognizant of like that might be a requirement. I don't know about every city, but I'm guessing the big cities, which most tournaments are played in, will require that.
It's like any other conference, right?
Yeah, wasn't too big of an issue.
Let's see, what else do we want to hit on? So we talked a little bit about your preparation. You said mainly openings, right? Yeah,
mainly openings, but I think during those games, a lot of the games got out of prep very fast, and I was, just like the game we showed in round 5, I was not too sure about some of my prep to where I faltered, and I went back on a lot of stuff that we went over, and if I would go back in time, I would, just not falter, but it happens. We're all humans.
Yeah,
and
sometimes falter.
And I think with the coach, even if you falter in your openings, what you kind of get is like general ideas of positions and good understandings of, tactics, and really like training my tactics helped with like kind of filling in the blanks for like what I missed
Mm-hmm.
out on my openings. I'm proud of one game where I figured out in round 3 I figured out kind of the general idea for a dragon attack, even though I stumbled into it. I'm pretty sure it's round 3, and my opponent played really well. And he's playing a dragon. Yep. Here I'm actually playing my prep, and
You can check that later.
yeah, but I mean, for the most part, right? And I think right here is where like I need to go back to was it E2? Yeah, E2.
Probably E2.
Yeah, but life moves on, and even still, like fumbling around, I was able to kind of get the general idea of this attack on the king side.
Right. When you eventually broke through.
And eventually, I break through, and life is great. But
I think you were really frustrated after this game because like you built the attack pretty well and like hung in there, and then eventually.
Yeah. Eventually, he doesn't crack, right? So that's the biggest part of just not giving up. Is at some point in this game, I had what I felt was a completely winning position. I mean, the engine would probably say it's winning. I think
the engine doesn't have to play your game.
The engine doesn't have to play the game. That's the problem, though. Is I wish the engine could play my game because what ended up happening was I just could not hold on, and he had outlasted me and was able to have some trick. I remember not exactly, and I don't have it in this game because I sadly lost my games due to mishap.
The score sheet, you mean?
The score sheet. Yeah, I still remember my games, but
yeah,
I missed the score sheet. But yeah, he was able to trick me, and I was tired, and he just would outlast me.
Yeah, there's definitely a sporting aspect that's not there when you're like dressed for bed, like in your living room.
And you play blitz games or bullet games on light chess. Yeah,
exactly. Speaking of this, so you scored 2 out of 7, but a lot of people who start with no preparation whatsoever, they lose all of their games initially. How do you think you would have felt if you lost all of your games? Would it have been a deal breaker, or would you still play more tournaments?
I would have still played more. I'm really into chess, and I really like this game, and I would have kept playing more tournaments, even if I had a 0 out of 7 performance. I'm still really frustrated as to what my scores were. I think I could have converted more games than what I did, but that's life. And I think someone who gets 0 out of 7 in their first tournament should just say okay, well, what did I learn? And
7 games to learn from.
7 games to learn from, and I'll have 7 games to learn from as well. Mm-hmm. And I think just got to keep moving, and eventually those 0 out of 7s will turn into 7 out of 7.
Yeah. And even when you move up, at some point you might be getting 7 out of 7, but then there's always some higher grades, some more big time tournament if you want to go for that big challenge.
Yep.
And even if you don't care about climbing the rating ladder, I think that there's a significant aspect that's getting together with people and just having a good time at a tournament. Like you said, the social part wasn't that impressive to you, and honestly, it's not really that impressive to me either. But I think that when you bring people to the tournament with you who can share the hotel and bring down the cost, people who can analyze the games with you, people to go out to lunch with between the games, it becomes a little bit more something that's relaxing and vacation-like.
And even if you have to go alone, there are other people at the tournament that have gone alone. Mm-hmm. There are other people that will hang out with you, that will get lunch with you. That
easily make friends from chess.
Easily make friends.
There's
a lot of cool guys at the tournament, no doubt.
Yeah. That's definitely true. We even met some people who were kind of interesting, the people behind the Louisiana Chess Federation.
Yep.
We didn't really know them before, and now
we've got to meet them, and they're really cool people, and it's a great organization.
Yeah, and if anyone who's watching is Louisiana local or just wants to fly out to a southern state for a tournament, I definitely think that there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of interest in chess. In fact, I think people's ratings don't even necessarily match their strength down here because there's more interest in chess than there is opportunity to play at this point. But hopefully that will change.
Yep.
In fact, speaking of ratings, how important do you think the ratings were, or how relevant were they for predicting your opponent's strength?
It's a on basis thing. It's a person by person thing. It's hard to say right now because of COVID, and I don't have a reference before because I just started playing. This is my first tournament, so I don't have a good reference before. But it felt like some of the guys I played that were 1800 weren't even as difficult as the 1300s I played. There was a 1400 that played better than the 1800. So it's just fluctuating, and some people have a lot of games in their catalog, but haven't played any tournaments like recently, and there's some people that like haven't practiced, and then some people that like have practiced a lot, no tournaments, and now are like gonna beat everyone. And I hope to be that one next time, but it was fluctuating for sure. Yeah.
I would highly recommend that people like don't play, even online, like don't play that often, but like mostly just learn how to enjoy studying, because that will give you the most fruitful games. I mean, unless you just like to, sit in your slippers and play chess, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That's fine too. But just playing a lot of games in itself doesn't help you to improve. It's mostly like this recursive process where you play a bunch of games, hopefully like serious games with real opposition. You go home and you think about it for a long time, and you do your best analysis. Then you check with the computer like what you might have missed, like in your tactics and calculation, and then you go back to the tournament. So
the guys that were the most scary to me weren't the guys who've played for like 40, 60 years. It was the little kids who've studied like really like hard for the past like 1-2 years. They've just gotten to chess maybe like 3 years ago, and maybe just studied for 3 years. And if you put in the time and you put in the effort, you can definitely have a good performance.
It's like what they say: beat them while they're young.
Yep.
Let's see. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on here?
I think that's it.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for touching base about your first tournament experience. And I'll be making a follow-up video for this, where I have like a checklist of things that I think people should do ahead of their first tournament, like learning notation, like what things they need to bring, and like what they can expect, like cost-wise and what preparation-wise, depending on their goals. So you guys can look forward to that coming out. And otherwise, hopefully I'll see you guys on a live stream one of these days. So thanks again.